This is the Nightwolf howling at you, and today we're back on Eternia to look at the Turtles of Grayskull, April O'Neil, the sorceress from Channel 6 News, part of the Masters of the Universe Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover line of figures. This is one that I have not been too excited about looking at, just because all the promo pictures that we've seen I just haven't cared for. So we'll find out if I like it better in person. On the back of the box, we have a big old picture of April spreading her wings and power flowing around her. They even gave a little bird head in the lightning. April's need to chase a story leads her into more trouble than she expects. This time, it led her to Castle Grayskull with the powers of the sorceress and into the middle of a war for the power of the universe. Talk about a scoop. More at 11. We also see that, put staff of the camcorder into hand. Staff of camcorder. Really? You couldn't have come up with something better than that? As part of this wave, we have April O'Neil, the sorceress from Channel 6 News, Stealth Ninja Leonardo, kicking shell from the shadows, Hordak, the ruthless master of the ooze pit, and Stealth Ninja He-Man, by the ninja power of Grayskull. Let's open this sucker up. Let's see if I can not nick the comic this time, as I seem to have done for the last couple packages I've opened. Smooth like butter. No, they really packed her in kind of tightly there, didn't they? Of course, we get our usual informational what parts come off deal. Right off the bat, though, I do kind of wish that this headdress came off, or that they gave us a second head without it. But let's take a look at the mini-comic. So the mini-comic for Turtles of Grayskull is He-Man in a half shell. Although it doesn't look like he's wearing a half shell, so that's kind of silly. We open our book up, and we have what looks like a couple of people speaking, because we've got two different colors of boxes there, even though they're not on the screen. Talking about how Skeletor and Krang lost He-Man, which was to be expected. Leatherhead is sent to track He-Man down and apparently finds him, although you'll note that He-Man is still mutated there, which is kind of a questionable thing. And we see that Hordak was one of the people who were talking. We also see a bunch more mutants that we haven't seen yet. Looks like a mutated Whiplash, Clawful, and Stinkor. Stinkor looking like he's part wolf now. And we find out that it's Shredder who has been conspiring with Hordak behind the backs of Krang and Skeletor. Now, what seems to be a bit weird here, though, is that supposedly Leatherhead found He-Man, and they're supposed to put him back into the ooze or whatever, and then send him back to Krang and Skeletor for the assault. However, as it turns out, I just knocked it. He-Man pulls off this costume, which is what they're calling the Shrouds of Shape-Shifting. So basically, it's cloth that allows you to take the form of another person, which is what he used to make himself look like the mutated He-Man. And he uses the power of Grayskull to free Ram Man, Moss Man, and Roboto's back there for some reason. Actually, I'm really confused about the Roboto thing, because Roboto was being converted into Metobottle earlier, so I'm not sure why he's there at all, to be honest. But then Shredder's like, what is that ruckus? And we see that Leatherhead attacks him, and somebody says, you're not Leatherhead, and I guess it's supposed to be one of the turtles, maybe Leonardo, but it's hard to tell in that artwork. But they do manage to knock both Too Bad, Bebop, and Rocksteady into the slime pit. And then we go back to Castle Grayskull, where Krang and Shredder are hanging out outside with some of the other mutated Skeletor villains. And also, it looks like Mossman is back there also, which he was back here earlier. I'm going to have to enlarge that picture to take a better look at it, because I can't tell from here, but might have some continuity issues going on in this book. So, of course, Krang and Skeletor give the heroes and the turtles a chance to surrender, while Splinter and the Sorceress are doing some kind of mystical thing inside, and April is sitting on the throne of Castle Grayskull while they do it. Then they give April the opportunity to distract Skeletor and Krang by acting like a news reporter and interviewing him for 2 hours before she introduces the special guests, the Ninja Turtles and He-Man, who come and attack again. But as they are, for lack of a better word here, boom-tubed to Grayskull from where they were, we see the mutated form of Bebop and Rocksteady combine. Well, they're already mutated. Combined into one person, which leads you to wonder: did the mutagen actually combine Too Bad, Bebop, and Rocksteady together? Because they're actually calling it Behold, Too Bop Steady. So is that just supposed to be a reference for him being like Too Bad, or did they actually merge them with Too Bad? Because we don't see Too Bad anymore. And of course, when Leonardo, as it turned out, and He-Man pop out, they yell out, "Turtle Power of Grayskull!" Ugh. And that just makes my head hurt. To which it looks like Michelangelo is the one who ends up saying, "Nice to know they had time to workshop a new catchphrase on the rescue mission." So we get to a battle. Cowabunga, "Destroy them, my mutants!" Oh my god. "Destroy them, my mutants!" Skeletor yells, but they do not heed his call, because Krang is the one in charge of them, letting Skeletor know that his soldiers are now Krang soldiers. And it appears that Krang is using that molecular enlarger thing, or whatever he's supposed to have had before, to enlarge his body, which I recall that being destroyed in the cartoon, but anyway. So it looks like our ogre-looking Krang becomes giant once more, which I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of hoping they make a giant Krang for this series. But Krang goes to attack Grayskull himself. We see Ram Man and Raphael getting their butts kicked by the combined form of Bebop and Rocksteady, which is kind of a surprise. Apparently they are more competent when they're combined together, unlike Too Bad, who becomes more incompetent when combined together. Somebody at the castle starts shooting the lasers at Krang to try to stop him, and the turtles end up on top of Castle Grayskull, where they find Hordak and Shredder waiting behind. Hordak and Shredder, who conspired against Krang and Skeletor, as well as the heroes. "Your plan worked, Shredder. We indeed slipped right under their noses, and you eliminated our competition. I'm impressed. You may have whatever you want. Money, power. Thank you, Lord Hordak. All I want right now, however, is to destroy the turtles once and for all." You know, I'm kind of glad that they did that sort of thing with this, just because, Shredder was... Shredder joined Krang and they talked about ruling the world, but I don't think Shredder really cared that much when you get right down to it. At that point, he just wanted to destroy Hamato Yoshi and the turtles. But then Hordak, using one of his airships, starts spreading the mutagen around in order to take control of all of Eternia. But Splinter Skull uses his weird psychic powers to become big and protect the area and throw the power of Grayskull out to stop the mutation from occurring. So I'm guessing that is what him and the Sorceress were up to earlier. So ultimately it's Master Splinter who saves the day. And the turtles talk about going home, but since we know this is not the last wave, I'm sure there will be more. And He-Man, the last thing he says is, "Did you say pizza? Cow and bunga?" Close enough. The end. Also, even though I thought I didn't nick the book when I was cutting it open, I did in fact nick the book. So, on the back, like the back of the box, we have April O'Neil, the sorceress from Channel 6 News, and Hordak, the ruthless master of the ooze pits, Stealth Ninja Leonardo, kicking shell from the shadows, and Stealth Ninja He-Man, by the ninja power of Grayskull. So anyway, that leaves us with our April O'Neil figure. She does come with another covering like everybody else did with the holes in the back, rather than give us the pegs built into her. So that can come off and leaves us with this very plain looking April. I kind of wish they had gone ahead and just made the body look more like her jumpsuit and then had this front part as a separate piece maybe. So you could kind of have her in what was more of her normal look. Because ultimately, the most well-known April is her in the yellow jumpsuit. Even though, personally, my favorite version of April O'Neil is actually from the second Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles show, where she wore the crop top and capri, and was not a news reporter. Also, I kind of wish they'd given us a second head with her without the sorceress mask to go with it, just because, again, like I said, there's not much of a difference between her. Before we get into articulation-wise, let's take a look at the staff of camcorder. Two round orb thingies at the sides like that. They are transparent. You can kind of look through it. I think it would have been a lot cooler if they managed to make that into like a telescope effect for your human eyes. But of course, here's the other issue with this. For her to hold it like a camcorder, it doesn't touch the ground. So it would have been nice if they had gone ahead and stupid thing. Set that up so that so it reached the ground all the way. You can't really do that with her. Although they are showing you this is about the closest I can get to that position. You know, maybe somebody else can do a little bit better job of it, but overall, the big problem is that the camcorder the stick is too short on there. And I think it would have been kind of nice if they just set up a tripod for it too. And it still looks to me like a battle hammer. And considering it's got like two gripping sides, I think I'm still going to just look at it like a battle hammer. Although I can't get her to raise it up properly because of the little feathered mini cape. We also have her wings back here. This is the part that I was never that impressed with. They have the two pegs to go into the back of her shawl. And then the wings also pull off. Ugh. I am less and less impressed with this by the moment. I actually had thought that maybe the wings actually were pegged all the way through this thing, but apparently not. Just a quick added note to her about the way her figure is set up. In order to make the wings overlap, one of the wings has a larger peg hole than the other one does. As you can see here, the stem is quite much twice as big, which is what allows it to close like that. Just a little bit of extra there. Ooh. I think that is a bug that got glued onto the wing. I will have to clean that off later. So anyway, if we stick her wings on here, they do seem to fit pretty well. We can have them go down They will help her stand. Well, maybe not. Thought they would. Yeah, there we go. That helps her balance a little bit, although she does lean forward doing that. This is the position that puts them on the ground with her standing straight up. Like I said before, I'm not too impressed with this design. We can spread them out. So we have that nice wingspan going there. Go all the way up. Cross over like so. Not that you do that. But I think this right here would be the basic wings out position for her. I believe people have made calculations before to try to figure out how big of a bird wing a human would have to have in order to fly with them, and this would not be it. God, that is really starting to bother me. So anyway, let's talk articulation, and let's talk it with her wings on. Head is on a ball joint. We can spin it all around. She can look up. She can look down. And I just did the opposite. She can look down. She can kind of look up. I think the hair and the shawl there is kind of hindering the upward look. Sideways, she's got a little bit range of motion when you turn her head sideways, but again, the hair and the shawl get in the way. We have a hinge at the shoulder, hindered again, can you guess, by the shawl. And the spin is also hindered by both the shawl and the wings. We have a waist articulation, which we can spin her all around. That is not hindered by the wings. It's a little skirt piece there. She can kick forward about yet far. She can kick back about yay far. She can kick out. Good range of motion there. Although this little thing stays in place, so if it was cloth, it would have gone down her leg. Knee has the standard Origins articulation for the female character. And we don't really get a complete 90-degree bend with that. Her original boots for this one now, new set. We do have the spin at the peg. Oh, and we do have the spin at the knee. Don't want to forget that. Hinge at the ankle. And a spin so we can turn it all around. We can pop her wings off again. And as when she blew out of the package, the skirt piece does come off. And it actually seems to leave us with... actually, that's a new diaper piece now that I think about it, because I was thinking the the WW Universe ones, but those actually all were just either She-Man or Teela's bottoms. So yeah, that's a new piece. Obviously, her torso is a new piece. And she doesn't look too bad if you go like this. Although this is one of those cases where I think it would have been kind of cool. I don't know. I think a deluxe figure, maybe with like an extra set of legs that were in the blue here to give her different color pants. Because again, for the most part, our Turtles characters have all been able to look normal as well as look like their Masters of the Universe versions. Look like their Masters of the Universe versions. Except for April doesn't really get that option. Which is too bad. I think what I would like to do, and I didn't think about this earlier, but I want to know if she's got the same skin tone as this one of the versions of the Sorceress, because you know we had two different skin tones on the blue and orange Sorceress as well as the white Sorceress. This would actually might be a pretty cool head to put on top of one of those bodies too, to give a more plain, perhaps Teela Na look to it. Her skin tone does actually kind of closely match the Tila from Turtles of Grayskull. We can do some head swapping there. Ugh. Just gonna say again, this Turtles of Grayskull figure was a little bit more disappointing because all the armor just plops all over the place. Should have been much cooler. Aside from there being a dead insect glued to her wing, I guess this figure isn't quite as bad as I thought it was going to be with the uh, prototype photos or whatever that we saw, the product shots. Still not one of my favorites, and I generally have a preference for female characters to start with in action figure lines, so that's kind of sad. Well, let me know what you think. Do you like this April O'Neil? Are you going to be as nitpicky as I am about the staff not being long enough to actually really position the way they're trying to show it? And of course, are you planning on getting this figure? I hope you enjoyed this. Please feel free to leave a like. I hope, comment. We already went over that. And subscribe. Peace and love.